like my job as a dev relations is, am I blurry? I don't know. I'm coming in, but um, is to make sure that you get it right. So like I've done so many like workshops as like someone like a starting developer, and I hated that I didn't come out learning something because it was too complicated. So like if you get stuck or anything, just drop a message saying stop, explain this concept. But I'm going to keep it really, really as simple as possible. So let me go ahead and share my screen and get this started. 1 second. I'm assuming everybody can see that. Oops. Okay. So yeah, we are API3, real world data for Web3 straight from the source. What does that mean? It means that we are a first party Oracle, and I'll get into that in just a little bit. That kind of sets us apart from other Oracles that you may have seen out there. For API3, we offer 4 services. We have Chain API, which is the ability to bring off-chain API data on-chain and use that using the Airnode system. Meaning, like if you have your own API or you're trying to like make a contest yourself, let's say like there's an MMA fight tonight. If there was a MMA price like a winning feed, you can grab that feed and then bring that data on chain. So you could have like kind of like a sports betting app on chain. Chain API allows you to do so. We also have our QRNG, which is quantum random number generator. Because Solidity and like Ethereum is deterministic, there's no way to really generate random numbers. Like validators can then roll back and then know what the number is going to come up on the next block. So this allows you to get random numbers truly off chain and then bring them off chain to make everything fair, like for a lottery or a game. DAPIs, which we're going to cover today, is going to be price feeds on chain, how to like get a price feed of like a ETH, a wrap BTC, or some other random token. And then our latest one, which I'll mention a little bit, is our OEV network, which is Oracle Extractable Value. It allows people to bid to update price feeds before they get updated. And I'll explain a little bit more detail about that, but that's a little bit more complicated as for like more into deep into DeFi space. So I am Billy, developer support. You can follow me on the socials. I'm 50-50, half serious, half crap posting. So, if you're into that, you can follow me. If not, you can catch me on the Telegram or Discord. And so I said it before, you're going to get a price feed on your smart contract. And so the key workshop breakdowns here is you're going to understand how oracles work, why they're needed, and how API3 looks to solve that. And then setting up your smart contract. And then we're going to pick a price feed in the marketplace. We're going to navigate it and then get a feed into our contract. So what is the air node? Like, how do we do this? Why is there a problem? So Ethereum does not know what the actual price of Ethereum is. It's like its own network. For those that are gamers, back in the day, PlayStation didn't used to be able to talk to Xbox, right? If you only played on PlayStation, PlayStation Network was the only people you could play with. Xbox Live was the only people you could play with. And now they interact, right? So there was some kind of like communication solution. Well, that's what API3 does with their Air node. They have the ability to have the EVM layer smart contract be able to communicate through our protocol with an external API. So places like CoinGecko or other places that provide price feeds, we can grab that data and then bring it back into the smart contract layer. So like anybody can do this permissionlessly with our chain API, as long as you have some kind of REST API with AWS or Google Cloud, you can make that happen. So it's a pretty straightforward and permissionless. We're all about decentralization and being permissionless. You don't have to ask us to do anything. And so what are DAPIs? They're basically price feeds, right? So if you were to get a single source of price feed, let's say like from Coinbase, right? Because there's no central authority of what the price of Ethereum or wrap Bitcoin or anything is, we don't know what the true price of anything is. Like if somebody started selling something like on Coinbase, it would drop the price. But if no one's selling anything on Binance, the price would hold, right? So, there's chances for arbitrage. And that used to happen a lot on 2017, 2018, where you would see these flash crashes happen because people would have these strategies where people would just dump up, a token, force the price to go down, and then they would like buy it and then sell it on another exchange that didn't go down, and they would make a ton of money. So here we aggregate data from different price feeds from different places, and we get the average of all of them to give you the average price. So that's what we do at API3. So we grab all these, and all these people are actually hosting the data themselves. We're not purchasing it from them, we're not borrowing it from them. They're actually giving the data to us, and we aggregate it and then send it over. So that's what we mean about first party, because you can be able to prove where that price feed came from at any time. Like if you were kind of sus, like, wait, why is ETH $2,000 today? You can go back and like backtrace it to see where that data came from, and then you can prove it yourself. So we have an example that we're going to do today. If you have your phone and you want to, grab it, I'm going to link it in the chat too, but just in case for people watching the video that want to like quick QR code, It's a pretty straightforward GitHub gist. Not too many. I think it's what, like 27 lines of code that we're going to cover to get this going on there. And then if you want to join our Discord community, there is, the basically dev support. Either you'll be talking to me or a few other people on the team, and you can join that. And I'll put that link in in the chat as well as soon as we get done. So just throwing it out there for the video for anybody that's watching it pre-recorded. But let's get into building something cool. So you can use tons of different frameworks, but for simplicity, I'm just going with Remix. You don't have to set up a VS Code. Anybody can do this. Let me go ahead and just grab this link and I'll paste it in the chat. If I can do that, if I can see the chat in here, 1 second.
It's next to the participants.
I'm going to expand this a little bit. It's because it went super small on my screen. So I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and right here. So anybody watching a web browser can do this. Like you don't have to set up anything or prepare anything. It's a beautiful tool on here. So we're going to go ahead and make a brand new blank workspace, and we're just going to call it price feed. And I'll keep an eye out on the chat just in case you have any questions. And I'm just going to create a new folder called contracts. And then we're going to create a new file just called pricefeed.sol for Solidity. Okay, and so we have this blank canvas right here. So first thing we're going to do, I don't know what everybody's level of Solidity is. So if I go a little bit too fast or a little too slow, I can match it up. But I'm just going to like kind of copy and paste some stuff that I have on the side to get you all up and running. So we always have to have our identifier, which is usually MIT, because we have it open source. Anybody can use it. It's not like a closed license or anything like that. We're going to be using Solidity version 8.22. You can go all the way down to like 8 or up to 8.24. I'm just picking 8.22 to start. And so we're just going to go ahead and set up our contract. So we're going to call it contract, and we'll call it price feed. You see, I get very fancy with my names. And then we're just going to go ahead and open it up, and we are ready to build our contract. So it's pretty simple. All we're going to do is set up a way to tell our contract, this is the price feed we want, and then set up a way to say this is the what we want to read from it, right? So it's a pretty straightforward type of system. So it's going to be a couple functions here. So we're going to start a constructor, which is going to be blank for now, and I'll explain it in just a little bit. So we're not going to have anything on startup just yet. Actually, let me get the parentheses. And so we're going to set up our first function. And so the first function is going to be setting up our parameters. So we're going to set up feed. And what it's going to take in is going to take in an address of the price feed. So we'll just say price feed. Oh, and I'm sorry, I totally forgot that I didn't link the GitHub gist. So let me go ahead and grab that really quick. I just jumped right into coding. So those for that want to follow along, but it's really simple. So like if you're seeing it on the chat, really, really simple to watch out there. You'll see that's really, really short. So you can go ahead and follow along. And then if we get stuck, we'll have plenty of time to cover it as well. So let me go ahead and set up that price feed. And I'm going to say that it's external. And we're going to go ahead and close that out. And so what we're saying is we want our local variable that we're going to have in just a second to take this new price feed. So we have this function that said, okay, once we deploy our contract, we want to choose which price feed we have. So I'm going to create a public variable here and just call it address. It's going to be public. Could be private if you want. I'm just doing it so it's easier to view in the smart contract in Remix. And we'll just call it price feed address. Well, actually, let's call it anybody have an opinion on what we want to see? I'll say ETH price feed. I'll just call it ETH price feed. All right. And so now that we know that, I want to make sure that I update my ETH price feed. And I'm going to set that equal to what we set it for in this price feed, because it can be done on multiple chains. So we're going to go ahead and pop that into price feed. And that's it, right? So like we're just setting up our price feed. Cool. And so now all we have to do is now find a way to read it, right? And so we have an interface that you can do. And so interfaces get pretty ugly, and they kind of like, get a little complicated. So we have a simple import here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that from here. I'm just going to copy and paste it, and we're just going to import that interface. And because it's an interface, you're not saying like contract is, because we're not importing like sub libraries. It's literally something that we call our proxy. So it's just a proxy interface. So we can just call that specific variable proxy. So I'm going to go ahead and set up my function. and we'll call it function read data feed. And then we'll just make it public. So in case we want to read it internally, it's view because we're not going to change anything on the blockchain, and it's going to return two numbers. And we'll call them uint 256 and uint 256. And so what those are going to return is basically two values. It's going to be a first int 224 value and a uint 256 are timestamp. And that's going to basically come out. So int 224 is just because it's designed this way. Like if you look up a lot of DeFi things, it has the ability to go negative if needed. So we have that ability to go negative in Solidity, but we really can't, to be honest. But it has that scope. So like if you look at any of the other oracles on there, and it's kind of like a standard that we follow, it's just pretty much the file. So I'm going to show a typecast of how to return that to uint256. So like it could work more with like JavaScript or big numbers or anything. And so here's the little magic where we have that interface. It's going to be I proxy. And then we're going to pop in our ETH price feed. So we want the I proxy. We want to get the I proxy of our price feed, and we want to read it. And so now I'm going to do a typecast. I'm going to go ahead and uint 256. And I want to say price is equal to uint 224. And that's going to be the value. And so then I'm going to go ahead and return that information, return price and timestamp. And if I'm checking the chat in case I'm losing anybody. Let me go ahead and close that out. And that's it. That's literally it. So basically what we have here is just a contract that we're going to deploy out. It just has a price feed. It's okay, we want this contract to read this one specific price feed. We can change this price feed to anything we want. I'm just happen to be calling it ETH because we'll do an ETH price feed. And we're going to call this contract either from a front end or from another contract. And it's basically going to say, hey, I want to read the price feed, return the price of it. So it's going to give me the value and the timestamp. So value matters because that's the actual price of ETH or whatever asset you're looking for. Timestamp's important because we want to make sure that the price isn't stale, right? The price of ETH is constantly moving every minute on the minute. And so like if it hasn't updated over time, like at least 24 hours, then we know something's wrong with the Oracle. And in our code, we want to make sure that we adjust that. Like, hey, if it hasn't updated in 24 hours, something's wrong, stop everything, make sure that we don't get hacked. So you always have to have your checks and balances. So checking on the timestamps is really, really important. So let's go ahead and deploy this out. I'm going to go ahead and connect my injector provider. I am already on ETH Sepolia. All right, and so we're going to go ahead and deploy this. Wait for this to deploy. And if I lost anybody, don't be afraid to like speak up or just throw it on there. All right, so we have our price feed, right? So we have our setup our price feed, and the read data feed, right? So now it's about like, how do we get our price feed? So we're going to go over to market.api3.org, not Mark Hamill, market.api3.org. Let me go ahead and paste that in there for anybody that's trying to follow along. All right, and so we see data on demand, and you can see that you can get price feeds from like tons of different chains. These are all the main nets. We got like, God, probably double this coming in the next few months, and all the test nets. And so we deployed over to ETH Sepolia. So we're going to go over to ETH Sepolia testnet, and we can search all the feeds that we want. And so it would be ETHUSD, but you can search it. We have tons of price feeds. We have ETH. We have LS liquid restaking tokens, matching tokens. So like it's really like whatever your heart's desire. And we actually do requests for those for new chains that come out. So let me go ahead and get the ETHUSD. This one I went ahead and pre-purchased it. Like, so we don't have to like purchase it right now, but like any new feed that's not active, you'd have to purchase it. So I'll show you that in another example really quick. But currently it's getting, the price of ETH is 293, oh sorry, 293.32 or 2,932. And you can see each source that it's coming from. So there's Coin Paprika, there's DX Feed, Finage, Kaiko, they all have their prices, right? And we're getting the aggregation of each one. And then if you really wanted to verify the DNS to make sure it's actually them coming, you can verify the DNS and make sure that's actually the source of truth, right? Because the number one issue that we had before the previous is like some oracles were kind of faulty. And so you'd have a bad oracle and then you'd have a hack on your DeFi protocol. So we have it. It's been purchased. Like I can purchase a new plan and make the difference if I wanted to for ETH. But I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. And I'm going to integrate. I'm going to get the proxy address is what we want. And this is basically showing you how to integrate the code in here. Pretty much the same thing that I've been showing you. So we'll grab our proxy address. And so this is a little extra thing that you don't really have to worry about just yet. This is OEV. For DeFi protocols, and I'll just touch on it just a little bit. For DeFi protocols, like let's say you're an Aave borrow lending, right? And someone is willing to bid to update your price oracle to do a liquidation or to do something fancy like that. You actually get money back. So by using our oracles, you can theoretically make a little bit of money because when you pay that liquidation fee, you don't get anything out of it. So you're like using 5 to 10% TVL on your DApp. But with OEV, if someone bids to update your price feed, kind of like how they do MEV, that money that they bid goes back to the DApp. So you do your beneficiary wallet so you can collect that on there. But for right now, we're not going to worry about that. And if you have questions about that, just go ahead and ask me a little bit later. But we're going to go ahead next. And then this is the proxy address that we want for ETH Sepolia testnet. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that price feed. I'm going to come back to my remix and we're going to set up our price feed, right? So we're going to push this address in here. I'm going to set up my price feed, which is a transaction. And then I'm going to go ahead and confirm that and wait for that transaction to go through. Looks like it went through. And so now if we read our data feed, there it is. 2,932. It's 18 decimals. So it's pretty exact to how far you want to go, but $2,932.99 and 6/1000th. And the timestamp will happen is like 171, right? So that's pretty much it. Like that's how you read a price feed. And so like the challenge today for those that are like really interested in doing the challenge is how to read multiple price feeds, right? So right now we learn how to do a hard code on it and a few details on it. So for those that want a little bit more advanced, we're going to add a little bit more to this, but pretty much that's as simple as it is to get a price feed. And like, you can just keep reading it over and over. The way it changes, right? Just to cover that a little bit is because ETH or like, because every time we update something, it costs gas. There's no way we can like update that every minute on the minute, like a centralized exchange, like a Binance or a Coinbase, right? Like you constantly see those charts like going up and down every second on the second. Well, that would drive every Oracle out of business. So what we have is we have deviations, right? So like right now it's 293 and historically like it'll be that way. It could be like that for maybe a couple hours and then maybe it'll change a price like maybe $10 or something. So when we have our deviations, you'll see these update parameters, 0.25% deviation. If I purchase a new plan, it's going to ask me like what kind of deviation I want. It's basically asking like how much do you want the Oracle to update? How often do you want it to update? So like at 1% deviation, if ETH was $2,000 and 1% is 20, the only time it would update is if ETH went down to 1980 or if it went up to 2020, right? At a 0.5 deviation, it would then update at 1990 and then 2010, right? So how accurate do you want it is more expensive because it costs more gas. That's kind of the way push oracles work. But once it's on chain, everybody can use it. So, that's pretty much why we have certain oracles. And that's why you want to make sure that your timestamp is good, because if it hasn't updated in 24 hours or it hasn't updated in a timely manner, then something's wrong. And then you want to avoid the hack. So you want to have things in your code saying like, if it's not within the last update, make sure to like pause everything until something's figured out. Right. So this is kind of a generic contract, right? So just because I call it ETH price feed doesn't mean that I have to use that. So I'm going to go ahead and pick another price feed from the let's go wrap BTC USD. And so, oh, I think I have this one already. Let me do something that I haven't done. Let me see, BTC USD. Yeah. Okay. So like when you go to a price feed that hasn't been activated, you see like I'm not getting a price feed. It's telling me to activate. So anybody who has the permissionless access to activate this, whether they want it or not, it will activate you for 7 days. On a more professional level, it'll be like 3 to 6 months. So like if you are purchasing it for a DApp or you're purchasing it for the chain, you can do it at multiple times at depending on 3 or 6 months, and then everybody can use it. So let's go ahead and do 1% deviation. Let's go ahead and activate this. So it costs ETH, but it's all Sepolia ETH, so it's all good. So I'm going to go ahead and activate. And this is kind of cool. Like, I know it's kind of like lame, but for a while we had to do like a 7-day activation. So like being able to activate instantly is kind of like a big thing for us. So it's kind of like when an iPhone got like 1 millimeter smaller and everybody was happy or something. So it's kind of the same thing. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and view the details, and now it's activated, right? So now I paid to activate it. It's good for 7 days. It'll expire, the 11th of May. And so here's the price, right? So let's go ahead and do the integration, and the same code that we've been working on. I'm going to go ahead and get that proxy address. Again, I don't want to do the OV yet, but I'm just going to register the wallet that I have on here. It's not important. You can just skip like past that and just deploy your proxy. And so go ahead and deploy that. And I'm checking for questions just in case. All right. And so there's my proxy address for BTC. So I'm going to go back to my contract, and I'm kind of like hinting out here like how this is done. And so I'm going to paste in the BTC USD address. I'm going to update my contract and then okay it. Wait for that transaction to go through. And that's through. So it should give me an updated address. And you see $63,656.99 and the timestamp. So it pops, let me go back to verify that price. And there's the price, right? So pretty straightforward, pretty easy, right? Like just to get this up and running. And how confident do I, of course, high confidence. Why wouldn't I do something? Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it. So for those that want to get a little bit more detailed, we're gonna add some issues, because I know anybody that's got a little solidity is gonna say, hey, this is very unsecure, because anybody can go and change the price feed, right? Like if you deploy this and I wanted to be malicious and you had this borrow lending platform, I could change the price feed. I can deposit something wrap BTC and then switch it to something like super cheap, like Dogecoin, and then like make a ton of money, right? Deposit a few coins and then make a ton of money out, right? So we want to limit this to an only owner. So let me go ahead and just grab that link for the Open Zeppelin ownable contract. So let me just go ahead and pop that in here. And so now it is ownable. And so on the constructor, we have to make sure that we add the ownable option. And I'm just going to do message sender. So when I deploy the contract, it should, and it's not taking that. I guess it's doing the old version of ownable. Let me see. Is that taking it? Let me find out. Is it doing? For those that don't know, Open Zeppelin came out with version 5. So sometimes 4.96 loads and sometimes 5 loads on Remix. So like if you get stuck, refer to the one that I pasted. But it looks like it's not accessing the version 5, so I don't have to do that constructor thing. And if I don't make any sense, DM me and I'll cover that for you. But now we just have to, oh, actually I have to do is ownable. Excuse me. Is ownable. So in the contract, we are saying that the contract is now part of the ownable system, and now I probably have to do that. And then message sender. Okay, there we go. So yeah, disregard what I said. Forget the last 30 seconds of what I said on there. So now we're good to go. So when we deploy it, our wallet is the owner of the contract. And now we're going to add this modifier, basically saying only owner can update this price feed. All right. So therefore, we're locking down this contract's ability to update the price feed other than our wallet. And so now it's a little bit more secure. And now we are confident that we can always refer to this and say, okay, we always want to read this value. And we know this value is always going to be the same price feed every time. It's going to be Bitcoin over time, or unless I change it to whatever I need to change it to. And then people can see that on the blockchain. So pretty straightforward. It's a very simple. Like the number one goal for API3 was keep things super simple, right? Get the interface, set up a price feed, read the data, and then do your logic, right? You can create like a DEX, you can create a borrow lending platform, you can create a perpetuals. If you had an NFT project and you wanted to always be $50 in ETH, you can always check the price, right? And make sure that you cap it at 50. So make sure if the price feed is this, or if price of ETH drops down to like significant amount, then you make sure that it's always $50 no matter what, making something affordable, like if you're doing some kind of like gaming system or anything like that. So Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Again, for the challenge, for the ones that we're looking for, that are looking to do the points, it's the ability to read multiple price feeds, not just one, a couple on there. Hopefully you got a little bit of my hint of how to get multiple price feeds and multiple reads on there. I'd like to see how creative you get when you deploy it to see how you guys handle that. Other than that, I'm going to throw up that link one more time. And actually, let me throw these out here for more ideas. If you wanted something a little bit more challenging, I'm going to throw up the ecosystem. There are tons of projects. A lot of them come from me about like what can we do with price feeds on there. So you can always scrouge the ecosystem and see if you have any questions about it or any questions about the build. Let me know. I pretty much build a lot of them. So go crazy, go crazy. And let me get the little thing up here that link so you can join our Discord community. Let me go ahead and big screen that. And I'm around for any questions. I don't know, like if there's anything more difficult than that, I don't know what to do. It's compatible with like Hard Hat and Foundry. Um, I have Foundry examples, I have Hard Hat examples. They're all in that ecosystem repo, but I wanted to keep it remixed so everybody can do it. It's accessible. You're not troubleshooting like some kind of Hard Hat, you know, issue or anything. You're just focusing on the code and getting creative. If you don't have Sepolia, you can always use the Alchemy faucet. And if you're totally out and you can't get a feed, just DM me and I'll send you a little bit of Sepolia E too as well. So you can get, on with your day. And that's it. Yeah.
Awesome. That was
Yeah.
great. Thank you so much, Belly. We are super appreciative of this workshop, and I guess we can give it a couple more minutes to see if anyone has questions in the chat. Otherwise, we can officially move it to the Telegram group for any office hours. And Billy has offered a lot of great resources in terms of getting access to him. So I hope that you all use those. And yeah, we'll give it a couple more minutes. And if there's no questions in the chat, then we can call it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty it's pretty easy to be honest. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely very straightforward. I feel like it's one of those things that like you made it look easy, and then when people get started, that's like
Yeah.
when the true test is. But we'll see how it goes the next little
Yeah. In
while.
the next hour, I'm gonna know if I failed. Like if you guys don't get it, it's gonna hurt me on the heart. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I see that. Gotcha. Yeah. Cool. Let me go ahead and send that out right now. I gotcha. I gotcha. I'll probably sound like point one. So like I'm not supposedly a E daddy or anything. So just not too much just to get you going through the whole thing here. Cause I know like it's pretty ETH is like cigarettes in like prisons in the US or something. Like people just go crazy for testnet ETH and it's so hard to get it nowadays. It's insane. Let me go ahead and send that over. Cool. Yeah, you guys are welcome. Again, I'll be around for, I guess, the next hour. If you guys have any questions or any issues, let me know. Like, if you guys are getting stuck on something, I would love to know what you guys are getting stuck at. So then we know how to adjust our docs or how to adjust the presentation. So like it's a learning experience for me too, to make sure that like the message is clear. So yeah, and I just sent that ETH, so you should get it.
Any final
And one day I'll
questions?
figure out why my camera is blurry on Zoom. So we'll see.
Yeah, it doesn't look blurry from this end, but I wonder if it's like, 'cause I feel like sometimes with Google, I'll think like I look blurry in my little screen, but no one else sees me as blurry. So I wonder if that's what's happening.
Could I explain? Oh, okay. Yeah. So, um, the OEV thing is, let's say you're Aave, right? And let's say ETH is $2,000 right now, like on chain, like it's $2,000, and you see this position that can be liquidated at 2010, right? So you look over at CoinGecko and it shows 2013. So right, theoretically, we should be able to liquidate that position and make them, the what is it, $500,000 on the liquidation. But because we are on a 1% deviation on the price oracle, remember, we don't update every second on the second. It's not going to update till 2020, till ETH gets to 2020. And if it gets it to 2019 and then it goes back to 2000, we never would have got that opportunity. So what OEV does is says, okay, anybody externally can bid to say, I would like to pay the gas to update the price oracle so it reflects the most accurate price that it is at this current time. So what the OEV oracle is saying is, okay, Aave paid to use this oracle and use this price feed. And then is if somebody updates my oracle to perform a liquidation, whatever you're willing to bid gets sent to you. So, in MEV, you see people like trying to do like, this crazy arbitrage and they pay like 20, 30 ETH to make this happen. Well, that 20, 30 ETH would then go back to you because the way borrow lending protocols work is if someone does a liquidation, in order to incentivize somebody to do a liquidation for a healthy platform, you need to pay like 5 to 10% on there. So every time somebody performs a liquidation, the DApp loses 5 to 10% in TVL, right? They get nothing out of it. It's just to stay healthy. So the way we're kind of like trying to revolutionize it and trying to help MEV or bring opportunity to people is OEV, where then we decentralize the way oracles are updated. And then therefore, anybody that's willing to pay for that bid to do so, the beneficiary that people get it, instead of going to the validators, goes back to the DApp. So now the DApp has this extra money to either incentivize users or fund public goods or whatever they want to do with it. It's their money. So when you have your OEV beneficiary address, if someone bids to update your Oracle, you get money back. So it's kind of like this slogan we have, oracles that pay you, right? Because there's tons of oracles out there, right? Like Chainlink, Redstone, whatever, they all give you price feeds, right? So like, what's the difference? Why would I use this? API3 is this is our approach, right? Using our oracles, you have a chance to be a beneficiary. So if someone bids to update your oracle, you get money. So, why not? Yeah. And I'm looking at this. The task. Oh, so the task is get 2 price oracles, right? So I gave you an example how to do one. The task is to do 2 price feeds. So it's a little bit of solidity or a little bit of creativity to see how you can do 2 price feeds or 3 or more. Let me see how you guys do it. And then learn how to use a smart contract to interact with oracles that is tracked on GitHub for rewards. Yeah, just deploy it and then send it over. Do they send it over to F3 or do they send it over to us?
Over to you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So send it over our way. We'll look at the contract, make sure that it has the 2 price feeds or a screenshot that you have the 2 price feeds available at the same time. And that's solid. You don't have to do anything special, right? You don't have to make a whole GitHub. Well, I mean, if you want to make a GitHub gist, that's cool too. Yep. If you don't want to like deploy it out or use Ethopolia.
Yeah, so what you can do is you can send it over to them and then take the screenshots and then upload it to the form and then we'll just verify with our partners afterwards.
Yep.
So when you complete the task, just keep the screenshots and then when you complete that form, include them and that'll be all you need to do on your end.
Hmm. Yeah. If you want to go super crazy with some stuff, you can always check the API3 ecosystem GitHub that I did. I mean, there's like a whole baby Aave thing with like a borrow lending platform with liquidations and whatnot. So there's a lot of learning resources. Like when I first started learning Solidity and doing that, I felt like there wasn't enough content out there in the middle. Like you would learn how to make a token and maybe learn how to make an NFT. And then all of a sudden there's like this 20 repo page, thing that and there was nothing in the middle, right? There was no like multi repo, like, oh, how to do something basic. It's like either like you're very beginning or you're super advanced. So I try to make a lot of content that helps people get right in the middle. So, around price feeds and stuff. So hopefully it's useful to you guys. That's me. That's me on Telegram.
Any other questions for Billy before we wrap? And remember, you can still connect on Telegram with him.
The drinks into Telegram later. Yeah. Yeah. Let me go ahead and like pop that in there while we're here. Is it okay in the general channel? Is that cool? Yeah.
Maybe in the builder one. So there's
The
Yeah,
one with the heart?
yeah, the one with the heart.
Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and drop the GitHub gist, and I'll just do the link to the demo or the PowerPoint. I don't know who goes back and like reads PowerPoints. I don't. So I don't, and I'll give you a link to the ecosystem here.
Yeah, I've definitely I don't think I've ever gone back and gone through a PowerPoint, but
Yeah,
we'll
I'm
do
like, oh, that
that.
was so amazing. Let me go back and watch that. Just watch the
Yeah,
video.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
And we'll be sharing the video as soon as we wrap up here, and then I'll download it and then upload it on YouTube.
yeah,
So you'll
yeah,
have all the resources.
yeah. But yeah, it's more about like I don't want to overcomplicate it. If you understand the concept, then you can just go crazy, right? Like once you know how to read a price feed, it's like, okay, what can I do with this price feed? And that's where the creativity is. Borrow lending obviously is a very popular one. Lotteries, all kinds of stuff on there, whatever you can think with the price feed. There's a DEX aggregator like limit orders on a DEX, like if ETH hits $3,000, then buy on a certain DEX, right? So the world is your oyster on that one for sure.
So it's a very good way of putting it.
Hmm.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, perfect.
I think you got them all.
Yeah.
Oh, there's another one.
Yeah, we have a YouTube channel. Let me drop that on the Telegram too. Like, I am actually redoing all the videos because we did launch OEV and we're doing like phase 2.0. So like the marketplace is totally different, but there is a ton of stuff. So like I am the video guy too. So like I'm like the media guy. I'm like a API3 influencer or something. So I do all the tutorials on there. So like there's a bunch of stuff on there with API3, chain API, a lot of stuff on OEV. So I think the deeper analysis of reading a DAPI over 7 minutes is one that I'm going to post on the Telegram too. The marketplace is going to look a little bit different because we just changed that for OEV, but the concept is the same, like getting the proxy address and then pasting it in there. So and the import interface is a little different. Like I said before, um, after Solidity version 8.20, when they introduced push zero, and I don't know if this is like super complicated, when they introduced new concepts on the way things were compiled and way things are deployed on certain chains, especially in EVM, um, it changed the way certain libraries were. So like a lot of the old stuff doesn't work. So, like in this space, everything changes like every so often. So everything has to be updated. So now we're updating our libraries. So like the library I have on this GIST is very different than the library that we have on that video. But as long as you refer to the GIST, it's pretty much almost the same.
Gotcha, gotcha. And the YouTube is dropped in the Telegram if you're looking for it. Everything.
Mhm. I mean, I'll drop it here too, just in case. I'm not shady with my control pace, it's okay. I'm gonna say this is really weird, like staring into the camera, just watching myself and like looking for a camera. I'm
I
like,
know.
okay, yeah.
It's an art of just like talking into the abyss.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm open to feedback. If you guys truly don't get it, like if I'm not seeing like how many people are here, I'm gonna be like those guys on Twitter. I have 20,000 followers and only 2 likes. I'm gonna do an Excel sheet like who didn't deploy. Let me know.
I think at the peak we had about 20, 30
Okay.
people, 25, 30
Yep.
people. So yeah, you
30
have.
submissions is what I'm like accepting, guys. That's it. No less.
Oh, okay. So basically, for each workshop that you complete, there's a point value. For this one, it's 18 points. And when you complete the task for the workshop, you get those points, and those convert into crypto rewards. And then there are going to be a series of workshops. So we have our May one right now that's just wrapping up after this, June and July, where you can complete the workshops again. So there's going to be some similar and some different ones, and those also convert to points. And so at the end of all the workshops you decide to complete across the different series, you can either cash out your rewards for crypto, or you can use them as entries towards the grand prize, which is an all expense paid trip to Bangkok, Thailand for DevCon. So yeah, does that make sense? Hopefully. Perfect. And that form that was shared earlier, and I'll be sending all this out again through Luma, so you'll have like a link to all of the recorded videos here, as well as the resources, and then that form that you can complete, which will where you can share all the tasks that you've done. So it'll all be tracked by us. Your job is just to complete the task and send it, and then whenever all the series of workshops are done, that's when you can go ahead and either cash out and or, depending on your points, do the entries as well. Perfect. Any other questions we can answer for you? Great. Well, thank you so much, Billy, for your time and your early Saturday morning. And yeah, we look forward to working with you again. This was really great. And yeah, everyone, if you have questions for the next little while, next 15, 20 minutes. Yeah, I will post on Telegram some more information about the points if they're not clear. But definitely feel free to DM me directly too, and I can explain it to you. Great. Okay, thanks everyone. That's a wrap, and we'll talk to you all via Telegram. Take
Cool.
care.
Catch me on the Telegram. See ya.
Bye.
Yeah. Thank you, Annie. Thank you, Billy, for the great session.
Thank
Cool.
you.